Julia Gillard writes on Power, Purpose and Labor Euros Trademark S Future Vertical Line World News Vertical Line TheGuardian.com. Turn autoplay off. Turn autoplay on. Please activate cookies in order to turn autoplay off. Jump to Content S. Jump to Comments C. Jump to Site Navigation 0. Jump to Search for Terms and Conditions 8. Edition, UK US O. Your activity. Email subscriptions. Account details. Linked services. Profile mobile. About us. About us. Australia team. Contact us. FAQs. Press office. Jobs. Terms of service. Privacy policy. Advertising guide. Guardian Weekly. Subscribe. How to subscribe. Guardian Weekly. Email services. Ebony. Android. .gsc Control CSD width 25 rem exclamation point important. Padding 0. Float right. Input.gsc search button background color. Number sign PDDDD. Border color. Number sign PDDDD. Input.gsc search button hover background color. Number 999. Border color. Number 999. News. World. Sport. Comment. Culture. Business. Environment. Science. Travel. Technology. Life and style. Data. TV. Video. News. World news. Julia Gillard. Julia Gillard writes on Power, Purpose and Labor Euros Trademark S Future. Exclusive. Australia's former Prime Minister breaks her silence, writing exclusively for Guardian Australia on her legacy, her hopes for a new Labour leader Euros vertical line and the pain of losing power. Share. Tweet this. Email. Julia Gillard. TheGuardian.com. Saturday, September 14, 2013 12:04 AEST. Jump to comments. Julia Gillard. Losing power hits you like the fist photograph. Penny Bradfield for Guardian Australia. During the election campaign, an elderly lady in Melbourne's West grips my arm with surprising force. Next day I have light bruises to remind me of the moment. She looks at me with anxiety in her eyes and says that while she reads and watches all the news she just can't understand what the election campaign is about. She wants to know, is this her fault or the fault of the campaign? After a resounding Labour loss, that word fault is now everywhere. Exhaustion and emotion have been on sad display in the last few days. But though it is so painful and so hard, now is a time for cool analysis. It is a time to carefully plan Labour's future and its next contribution to the nation. The purpose of power. Are election victories the only measure of political success? Inevitably this seems a silly, self-serving question to ask after a defeat. But surely our national story is written in more than the statistics of election night. Our national story is shaped by what endures from a government as well as what is rejected. It is impossible to imagine modern Australia without Medicare, our universal healthcare scheme, which was introduced by the Whitlam government, repealed by the coalition and then introduced by Labour again. This reform has become so significant a part of our national story that the political contest which surrounded its birth is now over. No serious candidate for public office runs on a platform opposing Medicare. Today's Australia is not home to the kind of conservatives who would be ideological enough or dumb enough to contemplate such a political campaign. If anything, the national mood around Medicare is one of smug complacency. How much smarter are we than the Americans, still struggling with health reform, we think to ourselves. Despite the shattering defeat of the Whitlam government, despite Bob Hawke being toppled as Prime Minister by his Labour colleagues, despite the savage loss of the Keating government, Medicare is there. Labour shaped the national consensus and bettered our nation. Even in the midst of today's despair, Labour must not surrender its sense of self as defined by its dominance over so much of what is our national consensus. Indeed, a truly striking feature of Tony Abbot's election campaign is how little he was prepared to challenge Labour's hold over our national consensus. Think first of that historic conservative touchstone, workplace relations. Labour, working with the trade union movement, has won the battle on workplace relations so profoundly that it is impossible in modern Australia to find an advocate for the Howard government's work choices laws. Certainly not Prime Minister Abbott, who has spent 2 election campaigns with his hand on his heart